how do you explain this, let's call it race treason, to put it in a blunt way?
Yeah, Dinesh, well, you didn't start out with an easy question. So it is something I address in the book, and I specifically identify, as you do, liberal whites as kind of the great Satan here, if you will, to borrow a term from the 80s. At the same time, I don't want to kind of whitewash things to say that minorities don't have agency or that their political leadership doesn't also bear a share of responsibility. But I think you've touched on something really important, which is you do have this conundrum or paradox at the heart of it of why liberal whites would do this. And I don't even have a totally clear single bullet answer to that question. I think what I'd say is there's a couple things. One of which is I think liberal whites kind of almost see themselves as a different ethnos, a different group than regular white people. And they see it as a way that they can sort of show their status. In other words, if you've got $50 million, $100 million and you're a white guy, nothing you can do that will really show your power to say more than to say, hey, go ahead and discriminate against white people, because implicitly, you can get around that. Your family can get around that. Whereas if you're a middle-class person, you can't. So I think that that's a significant piece of it. I think in other senses, sometimes there may be elements of self-deception. They don't even realize it. And then there are elements in which we have certain founding, principles in the U.S., and I think people believe that deeply. Of course, our history in America is not absent other types of racism, and I mentioned that in the book. And I think that kind of bad actors have used misplaced white guilt, because I think overall the American story is a great story that we can be proud of, despite the many failings we've had on the way. And they've used that for their own ends to kind of undermine a much better story that we could be telling.